All right, everyone, get ready because we're diving deep into the electric vehicle market, the EV market, and let me tell you, it's about to get supercharged.
Yeah, it's not just like a few more electric cars on the road. We're
Yeah.
talking about like a total shift,
Mm.
like a full-on transformation of transportation as we know it.
Okay, so let's break this down. You're here because you want to understand this whole EV explosion.
Right?
And we've got a ton of research reports, articles, even some of your notes that we're going to be looking at. And what we're seeing is this market. It's not just growing, it's like on track to become $1 trillion industry by like the end of the decade.
Yeah, and that kind of growth puts it up there with like the early days of the internet, when everyone kind of realized like, hey, this is the future. This isn't just some passing fad. And what's really interesting here is that this isn't just hype. There are some really powerful forces driving this change.
Right. It's not just about like feeling good or following a trend.
Yeah.
There's a real global push for green tech solutions.
Yeah.
Climate change is a hot topic, and electric vehicles, they fit right into that
For sure.
narrative. But it's more than just cutting down on emissions.
Yeah.
Even the charging stations themselves are starting to use more renewable energy. So it's like creating this genuinely sustainable cycle.
Absolutely. And the technology itself is like constantly evolving. We're seeing such incredible advancements in battery tech that are making electric vehicles more practical and more appealing than ever before.
Yeah, this isn't like your grandpa's golf cart anymore. We're talking about, these really sleek, high-performance vehicles that can go head-to-head with gas-guzzling cars.
Right.
One of the reports mentioned lower battery costs and something called 5G enabling faster charging.
Oh, yeah.
Can you explain what that's all about?
Sure. So battery costs have always been a big obstacle for people, thinking about getting an EV, but they've been steadily dropping. So
Yeah.
that's making electric vehicles more affordable for the average person. And 5G is the next generation of mobile tech. And what it does is allows for much faster data transfer. So what that means is you get quicker charging times.
Got it. So basically, we're talking about EVs that are cheaper to buy and faster to charge.
Exactly.
That's a pretty big deal.
It is, but the real game changer that everyone's talking about is the solid-state battery.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting.
Sure.
What exactly are solid-state batteries, and why are they considered so revolutionary?
So solid-state batteries, they use solid electrolytes instead of the liquid or gel electrolytes that you find in like the traditional lithium-ion batteries. And this makes them safer, they're less likely to overheat, and they're probably going to last a lot longer too. But the real advantage is their energy density,
Energy density, meaning,
meaning that you can pack a lot more power into the same size battery. Imagine an electric car with a range of like 500 miles or more on just one charge.
wow.
That's the kind of potential we're talking about with solid-state batteries.
So they could solve one of the biggest problems that EVs are facing right now,
Yeah.
range anxiety.
Exactly. And that potential hasn't gone unnoticed by the big car companies either. Original equipment manufacturers, OEMs are pouring billions of dollars into developing battery electric vehicles, or BEVs, as they're often called.
So you're talking about the big names like Bayerisch, Motor Work, AG,
Yeah.
BYD, Co-Ltd, Ford, General Motors, Tesla. The list goes on and on.
Right, and they're realizing that the future is electric, and they're making big moves to be a part of it. This level of investment from these huge automakers is a pretty strong signal that this isn't just a fad. It's a fundamental shift in the whole industry.
It's really exciting to see this level of commitment. But, the road of the future isn't always smooth. What are some of the bumps that the EV market is facing right now?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, and it's a significant one, is charging infrastructure. So while the number of charging stations is growing, it's still nowhere near the number of gas stations we have today.
So it's like we're trying to run a marathon with only a couple of water stops along the way. That's not going to end well.
Exactly. And this is especially a problem for those long-range EVs that we were talking about. Those vehicles, they need much bigger, more powerful charging systems to handle those larger batteries. Imagine waiting hours and hours just to fully charge your car.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very convenient.
Not at all.
So we're talking about a chicken and egg problem. You need the EVs on the road to make people demand charging stations. But people aren't going to buy EVs if they can't charge them easily. How do you think we can solve this?
Well, it's going to take a massive investment in infrastructure. And not just from private companies, but from governments, too. We need to build a really strong charging network that's as easy to use and as accessible as our current gas station network.
That makes sense. And then on top of that, we still have the issue of battery costs. Even though they are coming down, they're still a big hurdle for a lot of people, especially if you're thinking about buying one of those long-range EVs with the bigger batteries.
Right. This is where those solid-state batteries we talked about could really change things. Once they become widely available, they could significantly bring down the cost of EVs, and that would make them a lot more appealing to a wider range of buyers.
So it seems like battery technology is really the key to unlocking the full potential of the EV market,
It's a huge part of the puzzle. But what people often forget is that the EV market is much bigger than just Tesla and passenger cars.
right? There are electric buses, trucks, two-wheelers, and even like those big off-highway vehicles like construction equipment.
Exactly. The move towards electric vehicles is affecting almost every part of the transportation industry. And each of these segments has its own set of challenges and opportunities.
That's a great point. And we're going to dig deeper into those specific segments later on in this deep dive.
Yeah.
But before we do, let's take a moment to think about how all of this connects back to you, the listener.
Sure.
Even if you aren't planning to buy an EV right away, this transition to electric transportation is going to have some kind of ripple effect on your life.
Definitely.
So how might this impact our listeners' lives, even if they aren't planning to trade in their gas guzzler anytime soon?
Well, think about changes in city infrastructure with more charging stations popping up, and maybe even dedicated lanes for EVs. Then there's the job opportunities opening up in the green energy sector as the demand for renewable energy sources keeps growing to power all these EVs.
And of course, we can't forget about cleaner air.
Absolutely.
Less pollution means healthier communities for everyone.
Exactly. The impact of EVs goes way beyond the cars themselves. It's about creating a more sustainable, healthier, and more efficient transportation ecosystem.
It really is a fascinating time to be seeing this transformation happening. But as we've seen, there are both exciting opportunities and some serious challenges ahead. And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore.
Absolutely. We've laid the groundwork, and now it's time to shift gears and delve deeper into each specific segment of the EV market.
And that's exactly what we're going to do in the next part of our deep dive. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after this quick break. Okay, so we're back. And as promised, let's focus on some specific parts of this EV market. See what's unique about each one. What kind of opportunities are there, and what are the challenges they face?
Sounds good. Why don't we start with something that people might not think of right away when they think electric vehicles? But it's a huge area with so much potential construction and agricultural equipment.
You mean like all those massive bulldozers and tractors you see on construction sites and farms?
Exactly. Off-highway vehicles. That's what we're talking about. And switching these big machines over to electric power could be a total game changer. I mean, think about it. They usually run on diesel, right? Which is super polluting. And they often work in close spaces where air quality is a big deal for the people working there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So getting rid of those diesel engines and going electric would be great for the environment and for the workers. But can those huge machines even run on electricity?
Well, that's where things get interesting. Electric motors are actually perfect for this kind of tough, heavy work. They've got this instant torque, that burst of power you need to move those massive loads, and they're way quieter than those loud diesel engines. Imagine a construction site where the loudest thing is hammering, not the roar of engines.
I bet the construction workers would love that. And wouldn't electric motors also need less maintenance?
You got it. Fewer moving parts means less wear and tear. And that means lower maintenance costs and less downtime, which is super important in industries where every minute counts.
So it sounds like electrifying these off-highway vehicles is a win-win-win. Better for the environment, better for the workers, and better for the companies. Bottom line, what's not to love?
Well, like with any new technology, there are some bumps in the road. One of the big ones is just the size of the batteries you need to power these massive machines. We're talking serious battery power to keep them running all day long.
Okay, so it sounds like battery technology is the key here again. We need some big leaps in how much energy we can store to make this really work. But if we can figure that out, it seems like making these off-highway vehicles electric could have a huge impact.
I totally agree. So why don't we switch gears again and talk about something that's getting really popular right now? Electric two-wheelers.
Oh, yeah. All those electric scooters and motorcycles zipping around cities, they're definitely having a moment.
For sure. And there are good reasons for that. They're nimble, easy to park, perfect for getting around crowded cities. And usually they're more affordable than cars, so more people can get them.
And let's be real, they just look cool. But what about how far they can go? Can those tiny batteries really take you that far?
That's a fair point. Range anxiety is definitely a thing with these electric two-wheelers. But for a lot of people living in cities, their commute is short enough that it's not a huge problem. And we're seeing battery tech getting better all the time, so those ranges are increasing.
Yeah, if you're just riding around town, You don't need to go across the country on a single charge. What else is making electric two-wheelers so popular?
Well, besides being practical and good for the environment, they're also becoming really popular with delivery services and even ride-sharing platforms. They're efficient, quiet, and can easily weave through traffic.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
A delivery person on an electric scooter is going to get that pizza to you way faster than someone stuck in traffic. So it sounds like they're filling a really specific need in the transportation world.
Exactly. And as cities get more crowded and traffic gets worse, I think we're going to see even more of them around.
Okay, so we've talked about electric construction equipment and electric scooters and motorcycles. Now let's talk about the big guys. What about electric trucks? What are we looking at there?
Ah, yes. The heavy hitters. This is where things get really interesting. Because electrifying these big trucks brings a whole new set of challenges. We're not just talking about making a little scooter go farther. We're talking about vehicles that can weigh tons and travel hundreds of miles every day.
Yeah, those batteries would have to be enormous. Wouldn't all that weight from the batteries mean the truck couldn't carry as much cargo?
That's a big thing to consider. It's a balancing act. You need enough battery power for a decent range, but you don't want to lose out on how much the truck can carry. That's one of the things engineers are working on.
And what about charging them? I can't picture one of those huge trucks plugging into a regular EV charging station.
Nope. The charging setup for electric trucks needs to be way more powerful. We're talking about systems that can deliver megawatts of power to charge those huge batteries in a reasonable amount of time. And these charging stations need to be in the right spots along trucking routes, so the trucks don't waste time.
So it's not just about making bigger charging stations. It's about creating a whole new network just for the trucking industry.
Exactly. And that takes a lot of money and planning, but the benefits could be huge.
So what are the benefits? Why is it such a big deal to make the trucking industry electric?
Well, for one thing, those big trucks are one of the biggest polluters, so switching them to electric power could really help clean up the air, especially in cities where they're constantly moving stuff around.
That makes sense. And didn't you mention earlier that electric motors are actually more efficient than combustion engines?
Yeah, electric motors are simpler, they've got fewer moving parts, and they don't waste energy on things like idling. So over time, running electric trucks could actually cost a lot less than running diesel trucks.
So less pollution, lower costs. Sounds pretty good. It seems like the future of trucking is electric. But there are definitely some obstacles to overcome.
Definitely. But I think we're moving in the right direction. And as battery technology keeps getting better and cheaper, I think we're going to see more and more electric trucks on the road.
It's clear that this whole EV thing is changing every part of transportation, from tiny scooters to massive trucks, and each part has its own challenges and opportunities.
Right. And as we go forward, it'll be interesting to see how these different areas grow and work together. Will we see electric trucks delivering stuff to warehouses where fleets of electric vans are waiting to take those goods to our doors?
That's a great question. It seems like we're at the beginning of a whole connected electric transportation system. But what does all this mean for the average person? How will it affect our everyday lives?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about in the last part of our deep dive, so stay with us.
And we're back for the last part of our electric vehicle deep dive. We've talked about a lot of stuff, from the tech behind batteries to the special things about different parts of this market.
We've seen how electric is taking over from personal cars to big industries, even those off-road vehicles.
But now it's time to make it real for you, the listener. Because switching to electric transportation isn't just about fancy new cars. It's about changing the whole world.
Exactly. Even if you never buy an electric car, this change is going to affect you in ways you might not even realize. It's about changing cities, creating jobs, rethinking how we use energy.
Okay, so paint us a picture. What could the world look like when electric vehicles are everywhere?
Imagine cities with cleaner air, quieter streets, charging stations as common as gas stations today, but they fit right in. Maybe solar-powered charging spots built into parking garages or office buildings.
I like that. What about those inductive charging lanes I've heard about? You drive over a part of the road and your car charges wirelessly.
That's definitely coming. And get this. Your electric car could actually help make energy with smart grids and vehicle-to-grid tech. You could plug in your car at night and not only charges, but also sends extra power back to the grid. Helps keep things stable when everyone's using a lot of energy.
Wow, so your car is like a little power plant.
Exactly. It's a totally new way of thinking about how we use and share energy. And don't forget jobs. This change to electric is creating tons of new jobs, from engineers and technicians working on batteries and charging to people making apps to manage how EVs charge and perform.
So it's not just about switching from gas to electric. It's a whole new world of jobs and new ideas.
Absolutely. And it's so much better for the environment. Switching from fossil fuels means way less greenhouse gases, cleaner air, a healthier planet.
That's a future I'm excited about. But beyond the big picture, how will all this change our everyday lives?
Imagine your commute. Not only is it clean, but it's enjoyable too. Electric cars are known for being smooth and quiet. And with self-driving tech getting better, your commute could be a time to chill, catch up on work, enjoy the view.
So instead of sitting in traffic, stressed out, breathing in exhaust, you could be relaxing, maybe even getting some work done, or listening to that audiobook you've been wanting to start.
Exactly. And as electric vehicles get cheaper, more people can afford them. Everyone gets to enjoy those benefits, and it helps us all move towards a more sustainable future.
It's clear that the EV revolution is about way more than just replacing gas cars. It's about changing our cities, how we use energy, even how we live our lives.
It's a big change for everyone, and like with any big change, there will be challenges. But the possibilities are too good to pass up.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about. The future of transportation is electric. What part will you play in making that happen?
Will you be one of the first to get an EV? Will you use your skills to help the green energy industry grow? Maybe you'll support policies that help sustainable transportation, or maybe you'll just make changes in your own life to help the planet.
Whatever you're passionate about. This EV revolution is a chance to be a part of something bigger, something that will help all of us.
The future isn't something that just happens. We make it happen. And the electric vehicle revolution is a huge opportunity to build a better future. For everyone.
That's a great way to end this.
Oh.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the EV market. We hope you learned something new about this amazing technology. And maybe you're even feeling a little bit of that electric excitement yourself.